we're back. And if you don't know who we are and where we're coming from, then you haven't been paying attention.
That's an intro. That's an intro that I can get behind.
Now, Jose's been on me for some time to start reading more manga. In fact, some of you out there have also been messaging us and talking about different manga books that you enjoy that you'd like for us to talk about. So, Jose put these books in my hand last week, just so you know, and I did not delay that much in reading them. So I jumped right into these manga books right off the bat. First, this release from Viz Graphics, Black Lagoon, by Rei Hiroe. It's a story about pirates.
Modern day pirates. These are some kick-ass pirates. These pirates would not have been taken down by the Navy SEALs like those other. Was it not Ethiopian? I forget where they were. Cause Somalia, forget where. But anyway, this is some kind of a light-hearted story about a bunch of rogue pirates. You know, I'd almost they come off as one part A-Team. And one of the characters reminded me of Wash in Firefly. The techie nerd. Oh, yeah.
Wash. Yeah. He even looks kind of like Wash, too. Yeah. He had the Hawaiian shirts like Wash did.
Yeah, Benny.
That's
his name, yeah.
And I swear, the leader, Rick? Dutch, I'm sorry. That's Luke Cage. He just reminds me of Luke Cage. And then you have Rock. I'm sorry.
Well, Rock is the
salaryman. The
salaryman turned pirate,
which is kind of neat. And then Revy
is
the main character, a kick-ass, crazy-ass chick who can literally take out a whole army
and likes to fucking swear a lot.
I read this book. You can pretty much sit down. Like, I read this on my train ride home. I average about 45 minutes, on a ride. And I polished it off in 2 trips. Because I was just, reading it and wanted to take it in. You have a whole cast of characters in this book that are, some are very grounded. Some are kind of out there. You have these crazy action set pieces.
Yeah.
You have lots of shooting and shit getting blowed up real good. You have, hot women in short shorts and firing guns. I mean, this is like
those are like Daisy Dukes.
Yeah, Daisy Dukes. This chick could be like on the cover of Guns and Ammo or Soldier of Fortune magazine. It's just a fun, crazy book. As long as you don't take it too seriously.
Right. Now, there is a lot of suspension of disbelief. It's a comic book, but on top of that, it's like a John Woo
It's a John Woo movie.
In comic form. It's exactly what it is.
And this was the thing that impressed me the most about this book. The 3 characters that kick the most ass are women.
Mm-hmm.
You have the boss.
Yeah, the Russian.
The Russian boss, who she's supposed to be Russian mafia, but we find out at the very end that she's there. Spoiler. She's not really Russian mob. She's actually Russian secret intelligence and military that they're posing as Russian mob. Mm-hmm. You have this former SARC commando who
slash maid.
Yeah, who's a slash maid who's working for a Colombian cartel family, and then you have Revy who has this past where she talks about a lot of the things that she's done, which have made her the character she is now. They are all females, and at the end when you have the big confrontation
between the
two, and then the Russian mob leader shows up, and Dutch goes, Dutch makes a comment like, the 3 most powerful women are here in the world are here right now. Mm-hmm. He goes, and I'm about to lose my shit. It's like, again, it doesn't seem that implausible or difficult for manga readers to accept women as dominant characters. Mm-hmm. And yet, in the American comic scene, that's unheard of. How many books do you see on the shelves where the lead characters are women, and they're the ones they are the lead protagonists. They're the ones that everything revolves around them. They're not there being rescued. They're not there, providing the foil. Everything revolves around them. And there doesn't seem to be an issue of doing that in manga.
No, I don't. Yeah.
But why don't you see, more of that in regular mainstream American comics? That I don't understand. And the fact, and I'm sorry, this is why more girls read manga. Mm-hmm. They read manga because they like, for the most part, the portrayals of the female characters. Don't get me wrong. These are not glorified, wonderful, idealistic women. Revi's, she swears up a storm. And there's a little cheesecake here and there. She wears a little short shorts, but she's not being exploited. She's not being,
well, and then you have, in contrast, you have the other badass who's the maid who is completely covered from head to toe.
Yeah, covered from head to toe, and also a real badass. That bit where she's, just mowing down all those Colombian cartel hitmen, it was pretty cool.
No, yeah.
So, this is what I'm enjoying right now about manga is this look into this culture that has evolved in the Japanese sequential arts scene, and this obviously manga has been around for quite some time, and the Japanese kind of have a leg up on us in that. Another book that Jose asked me to read was Monster by Naoki Urasawa, and you were talking about this. That it's a different kind of book. It's something that unlike anything you've read.
It's a medical drama.
Yeah.
It starts off that way.
Yeah. Now this was, I'm reading this. I had very much the same reaction to this as I did with Scott Pilgrim, where I'm reading it. I'm reading this book here. I don't want to give away too much, okay? But let's just say, when you first read it, it reads like Dr. Kildare, or General Hospital. Or even much better written than General Hospital, because this is actually very it's real medicine, and these characters, you get to see the politics that go on in a hospital. So the lead character, Dr. Tenma. Dr. Tenma is a brilliant Japanese surgeon who has moved to Germany. A neurosurgeon, yes, who has moved to Germany so that he can try to gain the acclaim that he couldn't back in Japan, because his brother runs the hospital that he was at. His family did. So he wants to make a name for himself, and at the beginning of this story has fallen in quite nicely with the director of a leading German hospital.
He's dating his daughter.
Dating the director's daughter. And it looks very good there in the beginning, and then because he won't fall in line with how the director is, there's the
issues with their morality.
The morality, the ethics of medicine, the ethics of research, the ethics that the decisions that doctors make. When you have a world famous opera singer and a woman immigrant, both the male immigrant, they both show up in the hospital at the same time, and you can only save one of them. Which do you save?
Right.
And
the hospital picks the opera singer, but they don't tell him.
They don't tell him that.
They just say, this is who you need to work on. And it turns out that he saves the opera singer, but because of that, the male immigrant who was actually there first
correct,
dies,
and
he gets kind of accosted the next day by the widow, saying why he was here first, why didn't you save him, why didn't you do anything? And Dr. Tenma's like thinking to himself, like, I didn't know, no one told me that he was here first.
Right. He was just doing what he wanted to do. I mean, he was doing what he was told to do.
Right.
Just taking his orders, and again, trying to figure out essentially what he believes about the profession, what he should be doing. So you have all this this soap opera going on, and that sort of thing goes on for a good the first 4 or 5 chapters. I mean, you get like halfway into the book. And you feel like, this is like, I'm thinking this is again.
And then it comes up that he is a few weeks later he's giving this the choice between saving a mayor,
the mayor of the city,
or a young child,
a young child that was shot in the head,
right?
A victim of a strange
a house,
a murder,
yeah.
And
the kid, his parents were murdered, and he was also shot in the head. And they were thinking that it's a robbery. So the kid's like 7 years old. So again, this time he's confronted with a choice.
A similar choice.
A similar choice is either the mayor or a young child, and because of what happened to him before, he chooses to save the child.
He chooses to save the child
instead of the politician.
And it makes it. And after he does that, his whole life falls apart.
Yep.
When he finally does what he believes is the right thing, everything comes apart for him. Mm-hmm. You know, he loses the girl, he loses the prestige, he loses the favor of the director.
Yep.
All this stuff starts happening, and then you're going, oh my God, this guy.
Because he made the right choice.
Because he made the right
everything
choice.
is taken away from him. Or the right moralistic choice.
And then...
and then it gets even worse.
And then it gets even worse, because then the murders start happening again.
Yes.
And, because, and I don't want to give away too much, let's just say his life does a complete 180 after that. Everything that was taken away ends up being given back.
Right.
And then some. And then after all that happens, because of all this good stuff that happens to him, he is now the prime suspect in a series of murders. Because then, after doing the 180, the story takes a left turn, having to do with the life of that kid that he saved.
See, and we cannot, exactly. Yeah. And this is one of those books that, if you want something really smart, you want something intelligent, you want something completely different and engrossing, read this manga. I mean, whatever your perceptions about manga are, this is not probably what your perception about manga is.
Right.
It's a very slow paced, it's very character driven. There's not a lot of speed lines, there's not a lot of action, there's not a lot of, it's just a well told story. And because of what happens in this volume at the end is what the entire story hinges on. And it's the rest of the 14 volumes after this is where the story goes, and because it's such a huge part, and I didn't tell him what this book was about. I just told him he needed to read it, because even on the blurb in the back, it tells you what the ending is. But the ending is a huge, huge twist, and don't ruin it for yourselves.
Right.
Don't read anything about this. If you just like what we said so far, just pick it up and read it, and then find out the twist for yourself.
Right.
Because it's pretty big.
Well, I read it, and I was like, it doesn't really... I mean, yeah, it kind of gives it away, but it doesn't, not entirely. But yeah, I know what you mean. If this were not a manga book, you know, I could see this... You could almost see this, like, let's say it was like a pulp thriller, like someone wrote it as a novel.
Yes.
This would be... And I could even see, like, Michael Crichton adapting this into, like, a movie or a television series. Because, again, it's set in the world of hospitals... But it's not, again, soap opera hospital. It seems like it feels very real.
Yeah.
And the characters, again, very three-dimensional. You can see what's going on. You know, all the little pieces are being moved about. You see how the characters interact and how Dr. Tenma is influenced by each and every one of them. And then, of course, you have this really cool detective who has this funny affectation
of storing...
Yeah, storing information where he literally types it into his memory. So it's very it's.
And I'm telling you, you get so invested in just this one volume when you see the last page, and the doctor's just broken. And you're like, holy shit, man!
It's like, what am I gonna? He goes. When I do the wrong thing, I get screwed. When I do the right thing, I get screwed. It's like the damned if I do, damned if I don't. No matter what, and no matter. And it's funny that by doing the right thing, something even worse has occurred. Yeah. So, needless to say. This is something that's different, and if you are of a mature sensibility and want a mature story, and I'm not talking about mature as in sex and violence, I'm talking about in really detailed and meticulous and mature storytelling, this is a book to pick up. All right. When we come back, we can't let this book go by. Invincible. Hope to see you then.